What a nice intro. When Matt asked me to do this, he said, I want you to talk about where you've learned about your leadership style. Raise your hand in the room if sometimes you hear your parents' voice when you're in a meeting or when you're coaching a staff member. Yeah, you can raise them higher than that because I think it's probably all of us. I'm included in that. As I thought about it, I said, gosh, where do all these lessons come from? And I think they come from one single person, my dad. I was raised by a single dad. I don't know if many of you know this. I was raised by a single dad. He raised 3 of us since basically the time I was in 2nd grade, my older sister and my younger brother. And he wasn't the typical single dad. I don't know if there's a typical single parent, but he was an Air Force Academy grad, scored perfect on the ACTs and SATs, was a near genius by all accounts and measures. He's also a pretty big guy, pretty lofty guy, and athletic. Also was raised in Iowa as an Iowa farmer. So he didn't choose to be a single dad, though. But I think there were 5 important lessons I learned from him over the course of my life. Lesson 1, there was always a solution. As a single dad, there had to be. When he had a really high-powering job and he was up at 7 and home at 9, he realized that wasn't going to cut it. He wasn't going to be able to raise 3 kids effectively. But it was okay. There was a solution. He could quit his job and start his own consulting business out of our living room. I didn't eat meat for a really long time, but that was okay. On taco nights, I could have cheese and lettuce in my tacos. When my first boyfriend broke up with me, even that was going to be okay because there was an Oprah talk that he had recorded on VHS that I could watch. When I got my first period, he opened the door 2 inches and handed the phone to me, and my aunt was on the other line. In 9th grade, when I still wore tracksuits, yes, matching tracksuits, and had never had my eyebrows waxed, he realized, finally, I probably needed to go and learn how to do my own makeup. So he brought me to the Mac store where the beautiful girls, aka drag queens, taught me how to do my makeup. He didn't know any better. There was always a solution, though. In the toughest times, there were as well. It wasn't always easy after my mom left and took everything with her. She took the refrigerator and all of the utensils and basically everything in our house. But it was okay. We lived in Connecticut, so we could use the snow and we could put our milk and our orange juice outside in the snow. And for Christmas that year, we got spoons and spatulas, and I think my little brother got forks in his stocking. To kid, Christmas is Christmas. It didn't matter what we got. But there was always a solution. The second lesson, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th were pretty easy. The 2nd, you don't get credit for getting A's. The 3rd was, the 3rd, find your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. And the 4th, it's good you're a girl. They'll never see you coming. The 2nd, you don't get credit for getting A's. I'd come home with A's in chemistry or physics or in AP history or AP calculus, and he would say, good, you're supposed to work hard. I came home with a nearly 4.0 GPA in undergrad and grad school. He'd say, good, you're supposed to get A's. You don't deserve credit for working hard at it. The 3rd, find your passion and you'll never work a day in your life. I knew from an early age that I believed immensely that one person could make a difference because I saw how my dad was making a difference in my life. So it was no surprise when I wanted to start my first nonprofit in 9th grade to help families that didn't have Christmas and didn't have enough to get by in the winter, that my dad was my first investor and gave me my first $500 gift to start Christmas for Families. The 4th, it's good you're a girl. They'll never see you coming, he would say to me all the time. He hammered this point home, that it was okay if we were women, it was okay if we negotiated like men, we could be fierce and fearless, we could swear as much, and we didn't have to take no for an answer from anybody. And so now I found out early in my career, and I continue to see, that it's this magic trump card that we have at the negotiating table. The 5th lesson, live with enthusiasm. Perk up, kid, he would say. I was a really grouchy kid in the morning, I'm sure like many of you, especially as a teenager. He also used to say, as a lesson, which did not make it on here, you bury them at 13, you dig them up at 21. He was raising 2 teenage girls. It made a lot of sense. But I would come home. I would come in the morning, and I would go and get my cereal, and he would say, good morning, guten Abend, greet the day. It was this bright and shining sunlight in the morning that I just could not get away from. But it reminded me that it was okay to be optimistic, and it was a good thing to live with this idealism and enthusiasm. I think these are the two key lessons and two key characteristics that when I look back, I say that I learned from my dad. It's not just idealism and enthusiasm, though. It's not just the inputs. When I looked at the research around it, the idealism and enthusiasm as a leader can encourage incredible outcomes. As a leader with those traits, you're going to have better productivity, you're going to have better outcomes, better relationships, and better health. Perhaps more importantly, though, your followers and the people that we build teams around, they're going to feel less stressed at work. They're going to feel more supported in these high-care environments. They're going to be more enthusiastic as well, more idealistic. They'll also be more creative, more productive, and more innovative. I will leave you with this last story. In 2010, my dad, this bright sunshine and this rock in my life, had a very severe stroke. The first 3 days, we were really concerned if he was going to make it or not. Sorry, this is the first time I've talked publicly about it. We were really concerned if he was going to make it or not. But by day 5, he could start to make eye contact with us. He was sitting up, and he could start to talk a little. We were concerned, though, as the doctors were. He had problems with his S's and his CH's. So when they would leave in the afternoon and at night, they gave us sheets of paper that we had to do. We had to read with him and practice with him back and forth. And so the words were cheese and chair and kitchen. But we knew that my dad, if he was really still there, we needed to see if he was going to have as much fun as he had had in the past. So I would recite to him, Dad, say kitchen. And he'd say, kitchen. I would say, Dad, say chair, care. I'd say douchebag, douchebag. I'd say cheap hooker, keep hooker. And he was a single dad. So then I said, Dad, Match.com. And he said, Match.com. It was in these moments that I've realized, thanks to my fabulous father, that it is not life that we get to anticipate. It is not the cards that we get to decide that we're dealt. It's how do we judge it and how do we handle it? How do we handle those curveballs that are going to help us understand the measure of a leader? So if you walk away with anything today, I hope you realize, and I hope you'll learn a little from my dad as I have, that if we greet those challenges with a level of idealism and enthusiasm, maybe we'll be better off for it. I hope as you give me an applause, you'll also give my dad an applause, who flew out from Boston and had no idea this speech was about him. Thanks, Dad.